their purpose in life. I often say that my purpose in life is to help other people find their purpose in life. I have a whole mission, which is basically to make sure that no entrepreneur ever feels alone. I have, as an entrepreneur, felt very alone at certain points in my business build. I don't want people to feel that way. And I feel like, as entrepreneurs, often we do feel like we're the only ones that we can talk to ourselves. There's no one else out there that can help us. Of course, if we've got people that work for us, we don't want to burden them with our problems and our stresses of the business. We don't want them to worry, so we don't burden them. Quite often, we find it hard to go home and tell our partners about the problems because we also don't want to worry them. Equally, at the same time, they don't necessarily want to hear all the problems. And so I've found that having other entrepreneurs to talk to, other entrepreneurs to brainstorm with, to be tremendously valuable throughout my career. I think particularly right now with the coronavirus hitting so many small businesses and entrepreneurs, that I really want to make sure that I'm putting myself out there and offering up help to anyone that might be struggling, anyone that's finding it tough right now. Often just talking about the problem can help. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are fighting hard to re-engineer their businesses to accommodate the coronavirus world we now found ourselves in. Equally, I know there's a lot of people that are struggling to get their life in order. Working from home isn't easy, working remotely isn't easy, and none of this is easy. I have been through this experience before. I think it means that I have some perspective. I was living in Hong Kong in 2003 when SARS virus hit Hong Kong. So it was the first pandemic that I'd ever experienced. And at that time, very similar to what's happening now, every single business just froze. I had a company back then called HQed. It was just coming up to 3 years old when the SARS virus hit that business. I had quite a big team, a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of people to look after. And it was a scary, scary moment in that business for me. What I learned going through that whole period was a couple of things that I want to make sure that I repeat every time I go online. I'm going to try and repeat this. First of all, this pandemic will end. There will be relief. I can even tell you when I think it will end, although a lot of it depends on how people react right now and play the game properly, i.e. stay home, stay away from other people for the next few weeks. And I think you'll see it all calm down. But I think, to be honest, if I look at my Hong Kong experience, we have about 3 to 4 months of this ahead of us. So we must be prepared. And part of that we must be prepared, in my view, is re-engineer your business, reinvent your business, think outside the box, maybe even consider a whole new strategy or a whole new business to get you through this period of time. During SARS in 2003, my business, we completely switched to helping people with online. And in fact, we grew. What actually happened to us was there was a lot of people that were getting laid off, and we were able to employ those talented people that perhaps wouldn't have joined us otherwise. Or we wouldn't have had access to those people because they might have been in a job where they were happy. And then suddenly, thanks to SARS, they didn't have a job or things were uncertain. So my company was able to hire these wonderful, talented people to join us. And therefore, when we came out of the SARS virus pandemic, 3 or 4 months into it, we were in a good position. Now, I'm not advocating go out there and hire lots of people. If you're a small business, I know that's risky. I took a big risk and did that, but I'm not saying you should. I'm saying that what we can do today in these live broadcasts is, 1, I can answer any questions you might have about business and life in general. 2, I could try to help anyone out there that's trying to re-engineer their business and come up with some ideas with you. And 3, just be here to listen to any problems that you might have and be a support person. Now, I actually retired a few years ago. I started work at 15 and didn't stop until recently. So there is an argument that I kind of already had my career, but I've come back into the business world, but not to make money. My sole purpose is just to help small businesses, help entrepreneurs, help founders out there that are struggling. I also feel like I want some good to come from the coronavirus nightmare. And one of those things I think could be good that could come from all this is There's a lot of young folks or people coming out of university that are not going to get a job now. Now that's bad, but I think the good could be, I believe a lot of those people could actually start a business of their own. So I want to help those people that are coming out of university right now get something going for themselves. Equally, there's a lot of people that don't want to go to university, don't like education. I was one of those people. I left school and home at 15 years old. There are a lot of people out there that actually do not enjoy school and are thinking, while they're sat at home, perhaps with their parents, thinking, well, what can I do? Can I start a business? And I want to help people through that process. Now, I'm doing that a few ways. I've made some videos, like I made one recently, which is the 8 steps to starting a business. I want to, for example, break through this mental block that a lot of people have. A lot of people think you need money to start a business. You do not need money to start a business. Now, there are different types of businesses and some require capital, but that doesn't necessarily need to come from your own pocket. There's just so many different ways to make a business come alive. So I always like to start off by telling a story about myself. How did I do my first business at 15 years old? Now, I had no money. My father had just died, and I was no longer living at home, and I had to pay rent. So part of it was I had to survive. I had to pay that rent every Friday, 9 a.m. My landlord for the small crappy room that I rented came to me and asked for that £50, and I had to earn it. So how did I do it? Well, basically it was very simple. I decided to start a gardening company, and I simply started that gardening company because I could see in the area that I was living in, Cambridge and around that area, that all people's gardens in that area were pretty messy and not well maintained. So I just simply knocked on doors and said, hey, my name's Simon and I would like to take care of your garden for you. And people said yes. Now, I didn't have any money for the equipment. So what I did was I said to those folks, well, thank you very much for confirming that I'll take care of your garden. Perhaps I can ask you for a 50% deposit to secure the booking. And they gave me that 50% deposit. And that gave me the capital to then go and buy that equipment. So long story short, basically I then built the business up from scratch. And so it was a fascinating experience for me because a lot of my friends went to university then in 18, 19, 20 as I was building up this business. Friends of mine were at university. So I watched a very different path for myself and them. And often people would say to me, oh, at university you get a network. And I was building a network, a very specialized network, a network around business, around building a company. I was learning all the time. And people in university were telling me, well, I'm in university learning. And I was thinking, I'm learning at full speed, in real time, in the real world, right now. So I really built up a passion for the concept that entrepreneurship can be an education. It can be a form of education. And so I've become very passionate about advocating other ways to learn than going to university. And I have even spoken out against university as a negative in the sense that I don't want people to get into debt. I don't want people to go to university, spend 3-4 years of their life, which is a long time, investing in something, to then come out the other side with debt and then have to get a job you do not like or you do not love to pay down that debt. So I've been an advocate and passionate about this idea that there's many different ways for you to build out your life. And if the coronavirus is teaching us anything, is that there's many different ways to live. There's many different ways in which to exist in this universe. And so for me, I really want to be there for people, not just that are struggling right now, which is a big part of it. I want to help small business owners. I want to help entrepreneurs that are struggling. I want you to know, if you're listening out there, that you're not alone. I'm here to help you and I will help you. Equally, I want anyone out there that's thinking of starting a business to know, I will help you start this business. I can help you through the process of building a business. I have built 17 companies from scratch. I know what's involved, and I can help you understand the process. Any barrier, what I call self-sabotage, anything that's stopping you from starting a business that you love, I can help you break through those barriers. Then you're going to have questions like, well, I don't have a good idea, so how can I build a business? And I can help you through that too, because there's many different ways to get a business going, and it doesn't necessarily have to start with a great idea. Now, I've talked for a few minutes. I'm just going to quickly check online now to see what questions are coming in and see what I can do to help people. So just give me a second. I'm still getting to grips with all the technology and all the different platforms, but I just want to have a quick look to see who's asking me questions and make sure I'm responding. So just 1 second. Hi Harrison, welcome. Hey Peter, thanks for joining. Wonderful to have someone local and talented like you on the stream. Thanks so much. Change comes from within. I like your handle. That's a great handle. Thanks for joining. How are you guys? Great to see you. Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick look at my feed. So you guys all okay? Oh, hi Ryan, how you doing? How's Northern Ireland? You guys okay? Cheers, Peter. That's really kind of you. Thanks so much for joining. So I'm just searching now for questions, just looking how I can help any entrepreneurs out there that are struggling. For anyone that's just joining, my whole purpose for joining, for doing these live streams, I'll be doing every single night until the coronavirus is gone. I basically want to help any small business owners that are struggling. I want to help you perhaps innovate your way out of this problem. Equally, I just want to be a support person, so someone to talk to if you're finding it tough right now. So there's a few ways you can, of course, if you're brave enough, you can ask me a question through this feed, and I'll try to answer it live. If you're not so brave and don't want to publicly talk about it, you can go to my website, simonscribb.com, and email me. I had hundreds of emails yesterday, so I've been working my way through them today, trying to get back to everyone. So hopefully, I haven't got back to you yet. I know I've got a few people still to get back to. I will get back to you, don't worry. Some of your questions are pretty complicated. Some of your business problems are pretty complicated, and I wanted to be very considerate in my replies. So some of you I've half drafted replies to, but I'm going to get back to you. So if there's anyone out there that does want to talk to me, you can do it through simonscribb.com, and I've set the website up there that you can just email me, and I'm replying to people. For those that have received a reply from me, I hope you're finding it useful. Do feel free to then come back to me with more questions. A lot of the time I have to understand your businesses to truly get into the weeds as to what I suggest you do or what I think you should do. I have built 17 companies myself, all of them in different industries doing different things. So I do understand a lot, but everybody's business is unique. Everybody's business structure is unique. So totally appreciate that I have to get to know those businesses to truly help you. But I do know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I do know what it's like to have the highs and lows of being an entrepreneur. And I know there's a lot of people feeling pain right now because of the coronavirus nightmare. And so I really want to be here and support anyone that's going through that. So. Hey Jessica, yeah, sure, we can talk. Hey Job, nice. Any thoughts on compound interest? I don't really invest in any. I try to invest in things that I can make a difference in. I don't really like stocks and shares and those sorts of things. I feel like often if you're investing in the stock market, you're kind of saying, here's money for someone else to then hopefully make you successful, and you're kind of relying on that person to make you successful. And I always feel like it's more fun to kind of put the responsibility on yourself. It's more enjoyable to actually invest in yourself and then start a business of your own. Yes, it might not make lots of money, but then at least you're doing something you love every day. That's definitely the number one reason to start a business. And the second then is I'm not looking at the stock market every day and feeling happy or sad depending on what some CEO is doing in some other company that I have no influence or no control over. So I always suggest to people that you invest in yourself, not in the stock market. That doesn't make me very popular with stock market folks. I know there's a lot of people that can make money investing in the stock market. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I enjoy investing in businesses, particularly businesses with purpose. That's really what's always made me happy day to day. And you can right now build a business from home. It's actually a really interesting time to think about starting a business. I know that doesn't sound right considering the coronavirus lockdown, but there's just so many things that you can do online, and I think right now is a real opportunity. So I'm talking to one entrepreneur about they're trying to help small businesses come online so they don't suffer, so they're still here 3 or 4 months from now. No one can walk into their stores and buy stuff. So I think that's a great idea. For example, you could help small businesses get online so you can win and they can win, and they can come back into the world of what the home deliveries and all those sorts of things. So I really want to encourage that. So let me just get back to the feed. Oh, hi Luke. Thanks for coming on. Nice to see you. I'm just checking my YouTube feed now. So Luke, I work at one of the big four, creating online training, and I'm working on my own training product, which I want to release to the market. Fantastic, Luke. That sounds like a great idea. I actually sold my last company, Fluid, to one of the big four, PwC, and I think they're great at understanding how the business world works. So if you can leverage your experience there and build an online training product. Right now, anything online, pretty certain will work. So online training is definitely a good idea. Interestingly enough, Luke, I have a friend who sent me a message on social today, a wonderful entrepreneur called Stuart Harris, and I can perhaps connect you guys up because he's run a team building business for years, very successful team building business out of Hong Kong, and he now needs to pivot his business because a lot of it was one-to-one interaction, events-based type team building, and I'm recommending to him that he goes online. And I think part of it could be training products. So maybe, Luke, there's a way for you guys to connect. Let me just send you a quick note. Okay, yeah, so basically, Luke, I think I can introduce you to someone that might be able to support, or you might be able to team up. Equally, at the same time, I think what you're suggesting at top line sounds really interesting. And I'm glad. Thanks, Luke. I'm glad you watched my video and it was useful. So I'm trying to make content right now that is useful. So in my mind, one bit of useful content is the 8 steps to build a business. I know the process on how to build a business. And so I've done stuff like that. I'm launching a video on Monday about social media and how it all works in today's world for anyone that's not quite sure. Basically, if there's anything you guys need, and I can make the content, and so you can consume it at a time that's suitable to you. I appreciate that a lot of people, for example, 8 p.m. in London might not be suitable. I've got a lot of friends in Hong Kong and China, for example. I know this is not the best time for those folks, so I've been making content for those folks that I can just leave online and you can watch at any time. So I know that coming online at 8 p.m. for my friends in Hong Kong is not ideal. I'm doing 8 p.m. because I have a little boy and he's going to bed around this sort of time, so it allows me to go online and do this without disturbing his routine. So I hope you guys understand. I will be leaving this live on YouTube, so feel free to share or comment. And perhaps people that might find any sort of these inside tips on how to build a business useful, I'd really appreciate it. So you can probably see my little dog here, just having some dinner. Right, Bella? Good girl. Love you. Good girl. I totally recommend adopting a dog as well. I adopted 2 dogs, and it's absolutely wonderful. So therapeutic to have a dog. So it's I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there, probably the last thing you want right now is a dog, you think, but I can tell you sometimes having a distraction from your own stress and having a little fluffy friend to hang out with who just loves you no matter what, broke, poor, successful or not, it doesn't really matter. And so I love having dogs, and I totally recommend adopting a dog. One of the things I'd like to work on when the coronavirus thing is over and I'm not so worried about small businesses is help people reframe that adopting a dog is not, I'm adopting a damaged animal, not at all. Both of my dogs are not damaged in any way. They were just neglected and no one wanted them. So when you actually adopt them, they're so loving and so amazing. So adopted dogs are not damaged dogs. And so I really want to change that. I'm going to work on that. But I think when the coronavirus problem falls away, I'll go back to working on that a little bit. But right now I just want to help entrepreneurs and I want to focus on that, and one of them could be, I don't know if the 2 things link, but if you guys could adopt a dog, you might find that to be a good way of relieving some stress. Okay, so just jumping back to some questions. I have a store, how do I get it online? Okay, Alexis, okay, so you have a store and you want to get it online. Okay, I think a lot depends on the type of store, but honestly, getting online is easier than you think. I have noticed, for example, that GoDaddy, I don't work for GoDaddy, I have no sponsorship from GoDaddy, but GoDaddy have some pretty amazing, easy templates. You can literally buy a website buy a template, and have a semi-online store built within a couple of hours. I've actually built a website in 25 minutes before. I'm not saying it was a great website, but you can just play around with these things. They've made them quite intuitive, so it's not so hard to build a website. Now that's one element to it. Now getting online sometimes is, getting your business online sometimes can be just an idea. It can be as simple as going live like I am now and just telling people what you've got to offer, and then saying to people, leave me a comment and I'll find a way of getting my product to you. And so, that's a very, I guess, a hack way of doing it, but it's a good start. And so building very elaborate websites and building very elaborate e-commerce sites, for example, can be costly and time consuming. So I'm a big fan of just trying to get things up and running. And I love the book, The Lean Startup. You guys, if you don't know it, I strongly recommend you read it. And in that book, they talk about the MVP, the minimum viable product. Now, I have talked about this at length in other videos on my YouTube channel, but basically, they talk about how you can get a business up and running very quickly by testing what clients want. So it's something to think about. Maybe read that book as well. I think it's an audio for my dyslexic friends. I'm dyslexic, so I hate to read. But there's just so many different ways to get your business up and running. Hey Luke, yes, dogs are amazing, and please adopt, don't shop when it comes to dogs. There's just so many dogs right now that need homes. Actually, right now is a real problem because the rescues can't take the animals, can't look after the animals because they can't go to work. So if you could rescue a dog right now, it might be, weirdly, it might make your business successful, or your home business more enjoyable, or your stay-at-home life more enjoyable. I absolutely love having my dogs around. In fact, my little dog right now is asking me to play with him. So yeah. Hi Jessica Parker. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you very much. I'm trying my best to help entrepreneurs. I want to help small businesses get through this. Just to show you, because it's funny, you can see my little dog is bouncing around. Can you guys see this? This is why dogs are amazing, folks. I just want to try and show you. You see? Oh, there's my big dog. He's waking up now. Anyway, sorry, getting distracted. I do love my fluffy friends. Okay, so let me see if I've got some more questions. Forgive me guys while I flip through my different channels. Hi Todd, welcome. Hi Chloe, thanks for coming on. Nice to see you. How are you guys? So yeah, right. How do I raise money for my business? From Jessica. Okay, Jessica. Raising money for a business is frankly not as hard as you think. Now, I have invested in over 60 businesses myself, and I've also raised money for my businesses. I've also started businesses with no money. As I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, I started a business with no money, and I managed to build it into something quite significant with no investment capital. In fact, one of my big success stories is a business called Fluid. I also built that from scratch with no money, and I sold that business in 2016 to PwC for enough money that I could retire at 40, so not so bad. And I built that business with no money. So that being said, some businesses do require capital, and to answer your question, Jessica, there's quite a few different ways to do it. Now, one thing to say about this is raising money has become, I think, a little bit of a cheat. I would recommend you carefully considering whether you need to raise money at all. I have done both myself, and I have to say, and I'm an investor, so I feel like I can say this, it's not always good to have an investor. Sometimes it's like having one more monkey on your back. Now, that being said, and I like to think I'm one of these types of investors, having the right sort of investor on board can also be a huge benefit. But you have to be very careful about it. So what I always try to suggest to people that are raising money is, I question first of all, do you need to raise money? Can you build this business without having anybody else in the mix, especially at the beginning? Because if you have an investor, if they're just a pure cash investor, you have to understand their mindset is they want to make that money back. They want to make profit more often than not. So that's going to put you under a bit of pressure. So you need to be very careful that you don't get caught in their needs over what the needs of your business is. In other words, I think about HQed. In the first few years of that business, we changed a lot. And if I pitched that business one way and then 2 years later we were something very different, the investor might not like that. We also put all the profit we made from that business back into the business every month. Now, not every investor is going to like that. And so I was always pleased that we didn't have an investor. Equally, when it came to selling the business, of course, having more equity in the company meant that I didn't need a crazy price to sell it for it to be a very valuable exchange or very valuable sale for me. So, just be a little bit careful. And I have seen businesses where you start off as 100% owner and then you raise money and you raise money and you raise money, and you can end up with 5, 6, 7%. I know founders that have that in the business, and that's can be very demotivating. You can start to feel like you're working for someone else. That being said, I also think equity as a general structure is a little bit of a trick. I always try to explain it this way. I'd rather have 5% of Facebook than 51% of MySpace. I'd probably also be happy with 51% of MySpace. I'd love to bring that brand back. I think there's a gap in the market for something new. But that aside, generally as an investor or even as a business owner, you want basically the point is you want to have something successful. And equity itself is not the main issue. I always say to founders or entrepreneurs, I think control is actually important. You want to be able to make decisions about what your business is going to do, how your business is going to work, what your business moral code is, what your business ethics are. And so, for example, with HQed again, we were a marketing, branding, communications and data-driven agency. So, we had tobacco companies come to us and offer us work. And I would say, no, I hate smoking, I hate tobacco. I don't want to be a part of that world. Those companies would offer us a lot of money. I would say no. But if I had investors, shareholders and so on to get, you might be forced to say yes. A lot of big agencies have to work for those brands. And they have to because they've got shareholders and they justify internally as a business, and therefore a business that makes money, and therefore take on board these clients. And so anyway, I'm basically saying here that if you're going to raise money, just make sure you do a proper test on your idea and say, do I need money? Can I generate income or make the business work under my own steam? The longer you can do that, the better. Now, if your business does require capital, and I understand that businesses do require capital, then there are quite a lot of ways to do it. The best way, if you're patient, is to basically look at the business and say, right, I'm going to build this business, I'm going to make it work. Because if it's working and people see it, it's got traction, then frankly, investors find you. Money needs to find a place to go. It needs to make a return, especially with interest rates so low. So quite often, if you've got a good business, then you'll make money. Well, an investor will find you. That's the first thing. Now, that's what I call reactive sales. You basically push the business hard, and then people come to you. The other way to get an investor is what I call proactive sales, where you go out there and you find the investor that you want. Now, finding the investor that you want, there's a few channels. Now, one channel I would like to pitch is Angel List. I'm actually an investor in their fund, so just to declare that. But Angel List is a website that not only has some fantastic startups on there looking for people to join them, sometimes in an equity arrangement, but they also have a whole slew of investors and funds that you can tap into. So it could be a good source of potential investors. But again, just be very, very careful about who you're talking to there, in the sense that you've got to understand what that investor wants. Hey, what's up, Brandon? Good boy. You've got to understand what that investor wants. And so try to position yourself around, try to make sure your business is what they want, is what I'm saying. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time selling to people that aren't interested in what you want. And there are a lot of investors out there that will sit with you, or these days Zoom with you, and talk about your business. But equally, you want to make sure that you're not wasting their time or your time. So you do your due diligence on those people and find out what they've invested in the past and what their expertise is. I really suggest to people, and Jessica, I'm still answering your question about how do you get an investor. I recommend to people that you really think hard about what skills you need in the business. So if it's, for example, a product-based business and you're a designer, perhaps you need a marketing person, or you need someone with retail experience. So finding an investor that can bring those things to the table is one thing to think about. There is also another way, which is basically bringing in a co-founder who can invest in the business alongside you. I have done this, and it has worked very well. So again, I take Fluid, for example, the agency business. I'm the marketing and brand communication piece of that agency, but I brought in a partner called Helen Griffiths, who was the designer, a very, very talented person doing something I absolutely couldn't do myself. In fact, the thumbnail for this broadcast was designed by her. I met her 20 years ago, and we worked together day in, day out for 12 years building Fluid, the agency business, together. But she came in as a partner on that business, which basically it doesn't always require cash, but sometimes you can bring people in, talented people in, that can have a partnership arrangement with you, which can reduce your need for money. So they contribute their time, can mean that you don't need to actually hire people and pay out, which means you don't need an investor, and it can align you and your team in the business. So if you have lots of partners in the business, and that's a whole different conversation about how many partners should you have, and you need to be a little bit careful you don't take this idea too far. I think 2 or maybe 3 partners is enough. You don't want to have a co-op where it can get very complicated and bureaucratic. But certainly having someone with a different skill to you join the business to help you get it up and running, and it could be an interesting way of looking at an investor. And actually, AngelList, again, sorry to plug this website, but that does allow you to list what you're looking for in a co-founder and what you're willing to give them equity-wise, and you can find people to join you that way. So, Jessica, I hope that gives you a little bit of an answer on how to get investors. I do think putting together a very clear plan of what you want to do for you, that you can send to investors, keep it very simple, build in purpose. A lot of people overlook this. They do know what they do and how they do it, but they forget to include the purpose, why they're doing it. So I always suggest to people to watch the Simon Sinek TED Talk on why. It's a really good TED Talk that I always watch when I'm starting a business, just to remind myself, what is the why of why I'm doing things. Now, for those that don't know, the Simon Sinek Talk, a big part of a business success, in my view, is what he talked about, which is the why. So, as I just said, what you do and you know how you do it. Quite often most businesses know that, but why do you do it? So why am I here on a Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. talking to you guys? I'm not making any money from this. I don't want to make any money from this. My whole reason for being here is to help entrepreneurs get through this tough time. So why? How I do it is pretty obvious. I use my 30 years of experience to share with you guys and try and help you through this time. What I do, well, I jump online and I basically share my knowledge and listen to people's questions and answer them. And then basically the piece that's still, for me, important is the why. What's motivating me to do this? Well, I started my own first business at 15. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what a mentor was. I didn't know what a coach was. I didn't know the difference between a mentor and a coach. I didn't know how to raise money. I didn't know how to hire people. I didn't know how to do partnerships. I didn't know any of these things. And worse than didn't know any of these things, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what questions to ask. So it wasn't as if I could say to someone, excuse me, hey, how do you hire someone? I didn't really understand that process. I just thought it was simply, oh, nice to meet you, I'll pay you this, and on board you come. Let's start taking care of people's gardens. I didn't understand, really the process of how it works. So the point I'm trying to make is, the why piece for me is I'm going back to my 15-year-old self and helping that 15-year-old me. And so I know what I didn't know now, and I know if I'd had help, what a difference it could have made. So I'm kind of now at my age going back to that 15-year-old self and trying to help. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here on a Sunday night talking to you folks, because I want to help that younger me. So maybe you're that younger me, maybe you're that 40-year-old me, who's just starting out in business now and wants some help. Maybe you're 15 years old and you want some help. And I want to be here to help, and it motivates me because I know what it was like to start a business on your own with no help. So I want to ease the pressure. Once you've got all the experience like I now have, it seems a waste to have all this experience and not share it with other people. So that's my why. But what's your why? I think that's a very important thing to think about, because it's going to motivate you. Even if you're not making money or you're having a tough day, you're not going to stop if this why is very, very, very powerful. So that's why I'm here. Now I'm just going to jump back because I'm trying to answer the question about, Jessica, let me know if I answered your question about how to get investment. I can go into more depth on this. I might even make a full video about it, but let me know, Jessica, if that was useful to you. Let me just see, got any more questions? Okay. Okay, so I've got a question here from, I'm going to pronounce your name wrong here, I'm sorry if I do, but Mina Stephen. Your question is, how would I build my business in an industry where there are a lot of kickbacks with some parties undercutting to get business? Wow. Okay. So basically, I worked in China for a long time, and so this kind of kickbacks has different meanings in different markets. But if you mean people are paying people inappropriately, so for example, there was a story in China about how Mercedes-Benz were paying government officials, allegedly, just in case I get sued for saying this, you can Google this, they got into trouble for paying government officials to buy Mercedes-Benz, and Mercedes-Benz become one of the main cars in China. So, basically they fell into this kind of, let's call it kickbacks to Mina's question, and it's a slippery road. So I also had it when I was doing business in Hong Kong. There's kind of an element of like, well, you pay me and I'll give you business. I introduce you to this person and then you pay me. There's a very thin line between like commission because someone introduces you to someone and you get business from it, and the beginnings of what you've said here, minor kickbacks. I would steer clear of any of that. Now, it might be a harder road. I totally understand, but personally, my moral code is I would never do anything that isn't 100% above board and clear. So if, for example, you have an agreement with someone that they refer you to business, you'll pay them commission, that's fine. It's all above board. Even the client who's being referred to you is aware of it. That's reasonable. Now, if there's any sort of suggestion, and I've had this where someone's inside the company saying, pay me and then I'll get you work from this company, I absolutely would say no. I do not want to get caught up in anything like that. Even if it meant, and I've had this actually happen, I could get a big account if I paid someone in that company to give me that account. I would absolutely say no. I would strongly recommend you stay well clear of it. Now, I know that it might mean that your business will grow slower. Totally appreciate it. But I think there's a better way. And if I look back at my business, Fluid, I'm I built it in a pure way. I did things the right way. Even, you know, at moments when I had the opportunity to speed up the business and grow it much quicker by doing something like you're talking about, by paying someone to give me business, I'm absolutely proud of the fact that I never did it. And you will be too. Now, I know it's hard when you've got competition out there that might be doing that, but they'll get caught out if it's anything not 100% legit. So just stay true and pure is my recommendation. I'm just going to reply to you now, Maya, and just say to you to contact me, and I'll try to help you stay away from that and help you figure out a different way. I think basically, I always look at, you've mentioned something else in your post as well, which is basically parties undercutting to get business. Again, there's a very big difference between undercutting and being competitive. I personally never used to compete on price. I used to always compete on service. If you compete on price, my feeling is it's a race to the bottom and you will lose. I would always suggest to people, you try to build value into your business. That doesn't mean to say you can't make money competing on price. There's plenty of people that make a product cheaper than anyone else and make a fortune from it. I'm just saying that from my personal experience, most businesses, it's about building value. It's about building something above and beyond the price point, and adding something that is really often personal and unique that no one else can really offer within their pricing system. Now, I don't know what you're selling, Mina. Let me just reply to you. Thank you very much for your question, and I really want to help people. So getting questions from you guys means a lot to me, because I feel like, you know, it makes it worth it going online to know I'm actually helping a few people, even if it's just a couple of people. I can see on Twitter there's 200 people there, so I just want to make sure that I'm getting back to anyone asking me questions. So I need to check very carefully that I'm not missing anybody's question. Hi Elvid, again I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I don't have much experience with Salesforce, sorry, I don't know anything about that. Well, I've used Salesforce, but it depends on, it's a very complicated piece of software, it depends on what you're trying to achieve. For sales, I always enjoy doing it manually. I just keeping that personal touch makes a huge difference, but it does depend on what business you're in. That's my quick take on Salesforce, but again, I don't want Salesforce to sue me when I say that don't use them, but my instinct is that, you know, a lot of businesses don't need these big cumbersome softwares. You just need to be organized and have that, you know, a connection with clients. And so I used to have hundreds of clients with my agency business, and somehow in my calendar I just would have a system for staying in contact with them. And I was just listening to your intuition sometimes, like, oh, I haven't spoken to John at XYZ company for a while, just ping him and see how he's doing, and if there's anything I can do to help them, you know, that type of thing. But, you know, everyone's business is different. Okay, let's have a little look. So I've got a question on Facebook. From Darren saying, Simon, how do I get new clients, especially now I'm in lockdown? I find it harder to connect and have meetings, of course, are now impossible. So how do I get new clients? Asking them to come for a coffee and connect is no longer viable. Do you have any suggestions? The landscape has definitely changed as far as getting clients is concerned. I know that, can see that. And I can only think back to my time in Hong Kong in 2003 when we had the SARS virus, and it was a very scary time, let me tell you. And what we did then is we basically scheduled regular Skype and communication calls with people. It was actually Skype we used, but we basically used to have like daily conversations, open conversations about what people could do to get through SARS virus if you were a business and you needed help. So I guess I've learned from that experience now. I mean, these days I don't have a company. I'm not selling anything. I'm not promoting any business. I don't have a business as such. I just have products that are like my Good Luck Club podcast, which is just about entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs, just about knowledge for free, just trying to give back from all the luck and all the good fortune I've had to the community, the entrepreneur community. So I don't have a business to pitch today, but back in 2003, when the SARS virus hit Hong Kong, the first pandemic I'd ever experienced and everything shut down, I did have a business that needed promotion. And what we did, is, because we couldn't sell, to your question, Darren, is we basically created ways of just opening up what we did and having regular, like people could just jump into the calls and ask questions. We did a phone-in session every day, and we just let people know that they could join that call and ask questions, and that generated quite a lot of business for us, actually. I'm still a fan of email generally. I do think newsletters and these sorts of things, which I know, they've kind of gone out of fashion, but I still think it's a very good way of communicating with people. You can send an email to someone and they can read it at their leisure, and if your email is useful and functional, can lead to good client relationships and eventually sales. Now, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but just creating value does in the end create sales. So if you help whatever your business is, Darren, whatever your community is, if you just help them, then that can end up leading to sales. There are so many ways to do sales that aren't just sit down, have a coffee with someone and pitch them what you do. Now, having said that, you could create virtual coffees. There could be there's some fun things you can do, and it's just an idea, Darren. So I'm not saying this is a good idea, but it just came to me. I just noticed in London that you can get donuts delivered to your door now. So I'm going to put on 50 kilos, I think, and be ordering donuts every day. I mean, it definitely sounds cool. But you could send donuts to your potential customers' homes with a little note saying, let's have a chat sometime, or there's new ways to. There's just an idea off the top of my head, but there's new ways to do sales that isn't like an email saying, hey, let's meet up for a coffee. Maybe just rethink it. How could you connect with that person or show that you really want to work with them? That isn't just sit down and have a coffee and sell them what you do. So one of the best sales things I ever did in Hong Kong with my agency business is, at Christmas we made little Christmas trees. Well, nature made the trees, so thank you, nature. And then we put cool little decorations in a little box, and we put it in a nice little case with a little card, and then we sent hundreds of these trees to potential clients and said, please look after this tree, plant it, grow it, love it. And basically our company was called Fluid. So we're like, if you need a little bit of fluid every so often on that plant to keep it alive, maybe every so often you need us to come and help your business. And it was a tremendous success. So I think an idea like that today could still work. Maybe you're delivering it to people's homes, so maybe there's a little bit of a personal element there that is difficult to navigate, but generally as a concept, I think there's still ways to connect with people and let them know what you're doing that isn't, as I keep saying, just sit down and have a coffee with someone. But it's a really good question, Darren. I don't know if I've answered it well enough, but feel free to drop me a note on my website, simonsquibb.com, if you're still struggling with your sales or you want to go into it in more depth. I'll be more than happy to give you a bit more pointers on that. So, okay, we're coming up to the hour. I said I would go online for an hour, so we've got 5 more minutes. So what I'm going to quickly do is see if there's any more questions. Hi, Smile One Awake, how are you? Thank you so much for your messages today and for engaging. Your question is there a conflict between social enterprises and, I missed it, I think you said profit businesses, I think. This is actually an interesting point. I think business models out there, there's one business model that should be explored more. I'm calling it the zero model. So basically there's businesses that are for profit, and that's well known, that's capitalism at its best. And then there's the not-for-profit sector, which again people understand. I think there's a business model called the zero business models, my kind of phrase for it. And in a way, I'm building this out of my podcast business. It's where the business isn't designed to make profit for shareholders or for me, but it will make profit, but that profit will go back into serving and supporting the community in which it's built to help. So my platforms are all about helping entrepreneurs, helping people that want to become entrepreneurs, give them the tools and support that they need. And at the same time, if you're an entrepreneur right now that's struggling or lonely or finding it hard to scale your business, I want to give you the tools and information to help you break through and be all you want to be as a business and as a person. So my idea is, of course, that to provide all that support and all that content, I need talented people, which all costs money. So at some point, there needs to be income from that business to cover costs. But I don't want to make profit from that. So I'm calling, but it's not a not-for-profit. I don't consider it. I don't want to give it that label, because equally there's an element of, well, people come and work for you, then they're going to have to take a lower salary, and it's for charity, and I don't want to give that vibe. So and I also feel like a lot of not-for-profits kind of rely on handouts, and my idea is that you provide value and you can be self-sustained. So there's a need for a new model. I don't know if Awake, if I answered your question, because the feed is going very fast, so I think I might have missed the main point, but you sparked a thought in my head around business models that I thought was interesting to share, but I don't know if it helped. Hey, Scarlett. Yep, sure, feel free. So if I missed any of you guys' comments, because I'm live on a few channels, so I think I'm missing a few. Sorry if I'm missing a few comments or questions. If you go to my website, simonscribb.com, at the end of this broadcast, and send me an email, I'll get back to you during the day tomorrow. So that's what I did. I had nearly 200 messages yesterday after my broadcast, so I got back to most of them during the day yesterday, during the day today. But I just want to make sure, as we're coming to an end, that I'm not missing anyone. Hi Mina, I'm glad my answer was useful. Thanks for your reply comment, that's great. Thanks Darren, appreciate that. I'm glad my advice and feedback was useful. Okay, so I've had a lot of people that are thinking to start a business online ask me about how to do social media. So I'm going to be releasing a video, it's almost done. I'll be releasing it on Monday at around 9:30 in the morning. I'm just talking about some pointers on social media. I've had a lot of people asking me about how to build a business. So I've built 17 companies from scratch, so I kind of know what's involved. I've also invested in over 60 businesses, so seeing how businesses get built, not just my way, but many ways. So I've tried to share on my YouTube channel the 8 steps that I think are required to build a business. You can build a business without money, so it's a very important thing. I want to break through anyone sitting at home thinking, I'd like to start a business, but I don't have money. You do not need money to start a business. That does not mean to say you won't need money, but I'm saying there's many ways to build a business with zero money. I built 13 companies out of the 17. I built with zero money. One of the most successful ones, Fluid, which I sold to PwC, I built with zero money. So I want people to break through this mindset that they need money to start a business. The other thing, I think a lot of people think they need a brilliant idea to start a business. That's not true. I mean, to be honest with you, Facebook was not an original idea. It was a copy of MySpace. So, you don't need a brilliant original idea to start a business. I think my thing is to start a business, what I think you need, the one thing you need to really think about is not a brilliant idea, but what problem are you going to solve? And what's purposeful to you about solving that problem? Because that's going to motivate you to do that business regardless of money. So that's kind of the core. And then you can build the idea off of that purpose or problem that you want to solve. So that's my view. I've done a video on this called the 8 Steps to Building a Business. You can see it on YouTube. The social media 25 tips I've kind of picked up. I will put that video live on Monday. So if you go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, you can connect to it through simonscribb.com. I will keep trying to put up content that's useful. It's all free. It always will be. If you guys have any other things that you would like me to go into, Jessica, I went into the feed today about how to raise money from investors. So I hope you found that useful in today's broadcast, but I will actually do a video on that. I think that's a really good one. If there's anything else, folks, out there you would like me to go into detail on, I can create a whole video just on that subject, so do feel free to ping me. So I'm just checking, as we come to a close, folks, I want to thank you for coming online and connecting with me. I think we're all feeling lonely and a little bit isolated. I'm used to having 3 or 4 meetings a day. I mentor people and coach people, all for free. I just like helping entrepreneurs. I like working with entrepreneurs. I love mentoring people. I learn a lot when I mentor, as well as hopefully teach a lot. But I enjoy it. I've missed it being locked in for the last 10 days. So I'm going to go online every night at 8 p.m. London time, offering my advice, trying to answer some of the questions like I have done this evening. I'm also available through simonscrib.com. You can drop me a message through there, and I will try to get back to every single person that leaves me a message or leaves me a comment. But I will just close by saying, if you're an entrepreneur out there right now struggling, you are not alone. There are a lot of entrepreneurs struggling right now. My idea is that we can all help each other. I want to be a part of helping small businesses survive this. I have seen this before with SARS in Hong Kong. We had a pandemic for 3 or 4 months, everything shut down. I learned to build a whole new business through that time and push through, and I had a stronger, better business because of it. So part of my message from these broadcasts is, if you are a small business owner or an entrepreneur struggling, this is going to end. What you need to do is push through and plan for that time. So it could also make you a better business if you take this horrible situation as a positive. It's not easy to take a positive from it. If you've got a family member that's affected or died from it, I can't even imagine how that plays out, but I don't want to imagine. But I, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, this will end. You need to plan for it. And so you can also think about how can you improve your business to adapt to the online world. So I know a lot of small businesses aren't online, and you should be. I had a plumber contact me today saying, how can I go online? And my answer to them is, there's no business that can't go online. Maybe you can do tutorials on how to fix certain problems, and then you can be the person that sends them the parts when they ping you, and you can take a commission for the parts and charge for the tutorial. So I just don't think there's any business that can't be designed for online. And maybe instead of being an individual plumber that sells his time and only a limited amount of time in every day, maybe there's a whole online world that they could create there. And that's just one example. That you think a plumber, there's no way that a plumber can operate other than come to someone's house and fix the problem. Now, of course, that is ideal, but in a world where that's not happening, you need to still earn an income, and you've got all this skill as a plumber. There is another way. Now, I'm not saying that idea is perfect. There's a lot of nuance to it. I'm just trying to say that I have personally experienced a pandemic before. I've been through these sorts of crises in business before, and the way I've always got through them is by thinking differently, innovating, and ironically, probably fighting in a whole new way. So I hired a lot of people through the pandemic in Hong Kong because all the other companies were laying them off. And then when we came out the other end of that pandemic in Hong Kong in 2003, I had all the talent working for me. So that meant all the clients that suddenly kicked back into gear came to work with us because we had the talent to support what they needed when they came out the other side of the pandemic. So now I think this pandemic might last a little bit longer. In Hong Kong it was 3 or 4 months. It may last longer here, but we will get through it. You should plan for the future. So I'm going to go online every night at 8 p.m. London time to try and help. If you found any of this useful, please comment, like, or share. If you think there's anyone out there that could find this content useful, please share it. It makes it worth it to me that I see, like tonight, it's been amazing, quite a few people commenting, quite a few people asking good questions. It means something to me if I'm actually making an impact and helping, even if it's just 1 or 2 people. But if you found this content useful, I'd be really grateful if you could share it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, so as I upload new videos and new content, again, if you think they're useful to you or other people, you share them. And let me know what content you need to solve any problems that you have. So Jessica, your question about how to raise money, I've seen that come up before. It's a good question. I've tried to answer some of it tonight. I will make a video just about it for you and for other people that are struggling or thinking about how to raise money. So thank you for engaging. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for spending an hour with me this Sunday evening. I have enjoyed chatting, I've enjoyed sharing. I will go through all the comments, make sure I haven't missed anything. I will look forward to receiving emails from you folks on simonscrib.com, and I want to thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Smile, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Maya. Thank you very much, Jeff, Stuart. Thank you all for your comments and contributions this evening. I will be back online tomorrow at 8 p.m. London time. Look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, as I just said, feel free to jump on simonscrib.com and leave me a message or any comment or question. All right, guys. See you later. Thanks.